Now to former U.S. diplomat Deborah Cagan. She joins us from Arlington, Virginia in the U.S. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, the Trump administration kind of views this as a personal victory. But do you think that's really merited, given that many would argue the U.S. helped create this standoff and this blockade in the first place by empowering Saudi and trying to form this bigger alliance against Iran?
Well, I think it is an accurate description because the United States, since 2017, has been very active in trying to repair this rift between the Saudis and Qatar and UAE. And I think that I know people are loath to give the Trump administration credit for a lot of things, but on this one, including Jared Kushner, who I understand is also present at the summit, there's been a lot of work by the State Department and by other officials in trying to repair this rift. So I think it's probably a misnomer to say that the U.S. gave Saudi permission to sort of behave this way. I think the Saudis do what the Saudis want to do, but I think the U.S. has been extremely active in trying to repair this rift. And because of as Jim said, quite notably, the United States has always believed that a unified Gulf is much better for reacting to a malign Iran than an ununified Gulf.
So, I mean, what did Saudi get out of this? Anything at all? Or is this, in a sense, a bit of humiliation for Saudi for having failed? Because the Qatar has done nothing about its relationship with Iran. It continues to support the Iranian regime, as well as the Muslim Brotherhood.
Well, I think it's also not as cut and dried as supporting just the regime. I think if you look at Libya in particular, there are people who are taking both sides in that conflict, both with Haftar and with the UN-recognized government, that have absolutely no logic compared to how sides have been drawn in this particular issue over borders. So I think it's not correct to just say that Qatar has uniform support for Iran across the board, because that's just not true in lots of places in the East Mediterranean in particular. What they get out of it, I think today there was an initial jump in oil price shares as a result of the signature. That's positive. And I think the other thing that I think will be interesting to come out of this, if you'll allow me to segue into energy a little bit, is that I think this will make the Gulf orthodoxy on controlling oil production stronger vis-a-vis Russia, Venezuela, and other countries who don't like to pay attention to those rules.
Deborah, I'm going to interrupt you there. Stay with us, though, because we're going to cross live to Al-Ula in Saudi Arabia, where there is a press conference underway at that annual Gulf Summit as it's wrapping up. Let's listen in.
The high level of cooperation in all fields to avoid any barriers against cooperation. So all parties have agreed not to attack the sovereignty of any other state in any form, understanding against anything that threatens the national security, against any direct or indirect interferences in the sovereignty of other nations, and deepening the cooperation to fight the terrorists and groups that attack any state. The agreement also based on the mutual talks to enhance the cooperation and understanding, especially in fighting terrorism and crimes.
Secretary General, of course, as well, praising the leadership of the GCC countries and what he calls renewed unity. Let's turn back to Deborah Cagan. She's still with us live from Arlington, Virginia. Hi, Deborah. Let me get your feedback. What you think about what you've just heard there? Not a ton of hardcore substance, mostly about reconciliation going forward. Did anything stand out?
Yes, it did. First, I want to say that, as you noted, the devil's in the details. So agreements are great. How they're implemented really matters. And lots of agreements have been signed over the years, and there's like one step forward and then 20 steps back. So I'm hopeful that this one will have some staying power. But one of the big takeaways I have from this, if the translation is correct, is this issue of no attacks on the sovereign territory of other countries, and this concept of everyone's going to agree that you're going to support these other countries if they are attacked. Now, that's not a mutual defense agreement by any stretch of the imagination, but those are very strong terms. And one has to wonder whether there's going to be a takeaway from this that says if there's any further attacks on, let's say, Saudi energy infrastructure or on ships in the region that are done or perpetuated by the Houthis supported by Iran, does that mean that Qatar also will condemn these now in the future and will take action along with the Saudis and the Emiratis to do that? So I think those are very important words. I think it'll be interesting to see what they mean as a practical effect, but that's a very strong statement.
Okay. Deborah, thank you so much for your analysis. We really do appreciate it, and for taking the time with us and sitting through that press conference.